Hey y'all, welcome to Bushcraft Wednesday. I'm Madden from Self-Reliance Publishing, and in this video I wanted to talk about using beer bottles and broken glass as an improvised cutting device. If you know of Dave Canterbury in the Pathfinder School, you're going to be aware of the 5 C's of survivability and the 10 C's of survivability. And on both those lists, one of the C's stands for cutting device or knife. And those lists are very well thought out and have a lot of merit. I personally build my kits around them, and to a certain extent even build my EDC around them. But if you're serious about survival and being able to overcome any situation, it's good to think about improvising those items that you should have on you, just in case. And I thought I'd do a quick little video today about that. I came up with the idea when I was walking through the woods last week with my girlfriend, and we passed countless beer bottles lying on the ground. And it's a shame, honestly, that there's litter everywhere, but in a survival situation, you need to learn how to utilize that trash and that litter to its fullest potential. So that's what this video is about. I was originally thinking about doing a video about knapping glass and using the bottom of the beer bottle to make arrowheads and small blades and so forth. But as I was getting set up for that, I thought about all the things that you need to actually do that. You need either a deer antler tine or some other type of tool, maybe a nail or something, to flake the glass off, and you need leather to protect your hands. And there's just all sorts of little things that you could find or make in the wild, but it would take a lot of time and effort. And if you are in a survival situation and you don't even have a knife at your disposal, you don't have a whole lot of time to spend doing that kind of intricate work, in my opinion. I doubt you're going to find yourself in that position. You might get there, but that's not going to be your first priority. So I started thinking about another way that you could utilize that glass and come up with a quick and dirty sort of cutting tool. And so I just decided to break the bottle, just like you see here, and use the neck as a handle, as a built-in handle, and then find a sharp edge to use as a knife. And it's worked out pretty well for me. I've played around with this thing a little bit here before I started shooting the video, and it's done pretty well. The section I'm using right now is not the sharpest because I don't need sharpness for what I'm doing right now. I kind of wanted to do some testing with it and see if it would actually be a viable tool that is somewhat useful. I think this is somewhat useful. What I'm doing here is just coming up with some shavings off of this fat wood, and I'm going to use the glass to strike my ferro rod and get this flamed up. Now I understand if you have a ferro rod, more than likely you're also going to have a blade. I do realize this, but this is just an example of something that you could do with it. So that would probably be enough there to get a fire going. So I'm going to pause there, put it on top of this brick here, and see if we can strike a spark from my ferro rod with the glass. Ooh. So that's interesting. I just hit it, I don't know how many times with the glass, and it didn't ignite. And like within 2 or 3 strikes, or however many strikes that was, not very many, of the steel striker, it caught right away. And I've been nailing that for I don't know how long with that glass striker. So that's something to keep in mind. It's throwing a spark, but it doesn't seem to throw perhaps the quality of spark or the quantity. I don't really know what the deal is there. I'm not going to lie to you. But that's something to keep in mind. I'm going to leave that in the video because I don't want to lie to you as to the effectiveness of using this glass. Certainly threw sparks from the ferrocerium rod, but I wasn't able to catch my fat wood on fire. That being said, let's check out how it will do at making a feather stick or something, just carving some wood. I was playing around kind of off camera with some of these sticks here, and it did pretty well. Now I did alter my piece of glass pretty substantially playing around with that ferrocerium rod, so I'm not sure how it's going to turn out now, but let's see if we can find a sharp spot on this glass still and see what we can do with it. Not there. I think I lost my sweet spot, honestly, with this piece. So that's another thing to keep in mind. If you're going to be using this, which hopefully you never find yourself in a position where you have to use broken glass as a cutting tool. But if you do, keep in mind it is fragile and your blade will wear somewhat quickly. The good news is there's broken glass everywhere, so you've got plenty of options. Okay. So actually starting the fat wood on fire with the glass was a fail for me. I haven't necessarily given up on the idea altogether because it certainly was throwing sparks, so I don't know what was going on with that. But you can see this is cutting pretty good here. This is green wood, so clearly not feather stick material, but if I had some dry wood, this would be making a very good feather stick for starting a fire. Let's try it on some of this dead wet stuff. Oh. So you can see that there. This glass is taking off nice thin shavings, so it would obviously be quite capable at making a feather stick. One last test I want to do before we call it quits is see how she does at cutting paracord. Okay. So that's all the testing I have for this one. Overall, as a cutting device, I would say it is very much lacking. You can't do anything super intricate with it. It did excel at the feather sticks. That was probably the best thing that it did. Cutting the cordage was a little bit rough, and striking the ferro rod was a complete fail just about. It did throw sparks, but I was not able to get it to light that fat wood on fire. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more research into that and maybe do a little bit more practicing with that. If you ever did find yourself in a position where you didn't have a knife and you did have some beer bottles or something like that that you found lying on the ground, definitely utilize it as a resource. It's not going to be maybe the best cutting tool you've ever used, but you'll probably be able to work your way through many of the tasks that you need to do slowly. So anyways, I hope you found this video helpful and informative. As always, I appreciate every like, every comment, and every subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.